Always like these real intense sports, and I'm like, I want to do something crazy. I want to jump off a cliff or something.
That
We had Harry Styles, Michael Jordan.
what?
Any
Wait, you just say that like it's low key. What?
Yeah, and you know when you're a caddy, you're waiting in the caddy shack for a bag assignment. They'd assign you to a bag.
Yeah.
Like GoPro was one of the first brands that I was like so obsessed with, just because their whole like, and Red Bull too. Like
Yeah.
GoPro, Red Bull, how they are able to take these athletes in these extreme sports and like tell a story around be a hero.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Every Day is a Yay! Woo! I'm your host, Jewel Faguni, and today we have an iconic guest, Joshua J. James! Woo! Joshua lives at the intersection of creativity and building impactful communities in various different ways, whether it's marketing, branding, or true powerful collaboration. But I'm gonna have Joshua J. James, aka J Cubed, introduce himself.
Thank you, Jewel. Great to
Okay.
be here. My name is Josh, aka J Cubed. I am a Chicago native, born and raised.
Yeah.
Serial entrepreneur, currently working on my fifth new venture.
Period.
Multimedia maker, designer. Yeah, I do lots of things, and I'm so excited to tell you about them.
Well, I'm excited for us to dive into how do you balance building community while also ensuring that you're really unique in your creativity. So before we do that, we're gonna dive into something really special. Drum roll, please. The Goblet of Smile! So this is our fun segment where we have a ton of fun topics to really bring a smile to your face, and more importantly, have a smile with the audience. Okay?
Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, pick a question, any question, and we're gonna chat and read it aloud.
It says, what is one activity you have always wanted to do but never have? Never at all, right? Never done?
Never.
Oh my god, what have I not done? Normally I'm the type of person that will like want to do something and then just go try it
Yeah.
right away, you know? I want to do skydiving really bad.
I feel that.
You know, like
Yeah.
I like to watch the GoPro annual like highlight reel,
Yeah,
and it's
when you're
always
like
like this
this.
real intense sports, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to do something crazy. I want to jump off a cliff or something.
That I can see you doing that. Like, it's crazy you said that because I was thinking bungee jumping.
Oh, that'd be fun too.
That would be fun, but I'll be honest, I'm not gonna say I'm scared of heights, but it's that thing where it's like I'll get on top and I'll be like, I don't even know. I don't know if I can do it. So maybe skydiving might be better because bungee jumping, you keep going up and down.
Yeah, because I see all those videos on my feed of people like stumbling off.
Yeah,
the...
like no.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, skydiving. That
Love a
could be-
thrill.
Yeah. So when we think about how you've built these powerful and really energizing communities while also maintaining your astounding creativity, that's reflected in your creative agency, Other. And when I think about what you do with Other, this journey started way back in high school. Tell us more about that.
It did, yeah. I started working on creative ventures or my own sort of upstarts way back. I was 18, I think was my first company.
Wow.
Actually, before that, so I grew up in a suburb called Wheaton, out
Okay.
in the west suburbs.
Nice.
Fun fact about Wheaton has the second highest density of churches per capita in the U.S.
Are you serious?
It does.
In the U.S.?
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me. Interesting.
Right, everyone says that. But it's also home of the oldest golf club in North America, the Chicago Golf Club.
Wow.
At which I worked for 5 years, which is how you can start caddying. I was a caddy, and you can start caddying when you're 13. So that was my first job.
How was it like being a caddy at a golf club? Who did you meet? Like, that sounds like that's like gold.
It's fascinating because
Yeah.
these people are like the 1%ers, right?
Yeah.
This is exclusive, and it costs a lot to be a member, and the guests that would come, we had Harry Styles, Michael Jordan.
What?
Any
Wait, you
celebrity.
just say that like it's low key? What?
Yeah, and when you're a caddy, you're waiting in the caddy shack for a bag assignment. They'd assign you to a bag or a round with the golfer. And when the celebrities would come, all the caddies would get all like, oh, am I going to get Harry? And
did you ever get like
no, I never got a celebrity.
It's okay.
Yeah, but that's how I earned the bread that I needed to buy my camera equipment. Photography was my first creative interest when I was in middle school, early high school.
Nice.
So bought my first camera and got into like visual storytelling. And then when I was a senior in high school, I was 18, I took a course called Business Incubator, where the objective is to start a company and bring a product to market.
Yeah.
And in that course, I met these two wonderful ladies, Anya and Maddie, and they have severe food allergies.
Okay.
Like they would maybe die if they had dairy or nuts and didn't have an EpiPen with them. So we wanted to create for this class something that people with food allergies could eat and feel safe and appreciate. So we called it Allergenius, and we made cookies that were free of the 14 most common food allergens, so nearly anyone could eat them. And this company, we ended up winning the national pitch competition for the organization that does that produces this high school program across the U.S.
That's wait, first of all, can we just whoa, this is like your first venture?
This is way back.
Wow, but still, that's amazing. And also Allergenius. I love how y'all do allergies, but it's genius because you're making sure you're protecting people. Anyways, I want to give you your props. Keep going.
Thank you. And we ran with it. We opened a bakery in Avondale here in the city.
Wow.
And baked cookies full time for a summer. Unfortunately, the company didn't work out, and we had to shut it down just because it was hard to be both a student and work on a company that requires so much like labor in the kitchen, But that was a great start to my entrepreneurial journey. That's what brought me to the University of Illinois. The business program there is great, and I was interested in joining the iVenture Accelerator, which is how I know Jewel.
Yes. Shout out to iVenture. Okay.
Yeah, I was in cohort 7 with Allergenius.
Nice.
And through that, I met my best friends. I met other founders with whom I worked and collaborated throughout my college journey.
Yeah.
I started a few other ventures while I was on campus, and I can talk about that if you'd like.
Yeah, please tell us.
Yeah. So when I was on campus, after Allergenius, we gave it the run that it deserved, and then it failed. I started a fashion label, was my next venture.
Okay.
With my friends Nolan and Jack, we called it Bad for Your Health.
Okay.
Which is like one of one upcycled like high fashion design.
Nice.
And that has been sort of like a side project. Like late in the nights after we'd finish classes and stuff, we'd just experiment with sewing and such. So that really catapulted me into the world of fashion, which is fascinating to me.
Nice.
When I was working on Bad for Your Health, I met a dear friend through iVenture and worked on a company called Karma Trade for a little while and explored software as it relates to fashion and how to create a circular economy. So I did a lot of research into how to allow people to buy and sell secondhand clothes more efficiently.
Nice.
So that company ended up raising a bunch of money, and I think the founder's in New York now working on that.
Nice. Okay, impact.
I founded my university's premier fashion event, the Circular Fashion Exposition.
Okay.
Which was an extension of my interest in fashion, and I wanted to bring this opportunity to buy, sell, make, wear, model secondhand clothes to the student body at the University of Illinois. So
I just want to pause there because I want y'all to know how big of a deal this fashion event was, because it was at the Siebel Center, which is our computer science center. So the way you were able to actually throw such a big event at a tech building, tell me more about that. That was amazing. I heard about it after the fact.
The Siebel guy, who's this very wealthy donor for the university, he built another building, the Siebel Center for Design. So the CS building is the old one, and then they built a new Siebel.
Yeah.
And this Siebel had the iconic architecture of it had this long runway that went between the upstairs and downstairs, like this zigzagging walkway.
So you envisioned.
So when I first saw it, when the building opened, I was like, this would be great for a fashion show, because there's like a banister that goes around the like opening between the levels, so people can stand and like look down and see the runway. So it's great for viewing, and the vision just kind of took shape around this idea for the runway.
How did you make it happen? Like, what was the process? Like, who did you have to talk to make it happen? Like, how was it like getting the team together? Like, very interested.
I think I was the first student to pitch the idea, or an idea, for an event at this building, because it was brand new that year. And they were like, yeah, student go-getters, let's do it.
Nice.
So I was working with the building director through iVenture. She was a supporter of the program, so it was easy to connect with Rachel.
Nice.
And then I talked to the student organization on campus that works with fashion, the Fashion Network.
Okay.
And I brought their team in to help me produce it.
Okay.
And then it was just a matter of, marketing it and getting vendors to sign up, and, students to be willing to sell their clothes and stuff,
So like at this point in time, because I'm hearing you in various industries, I think about health and then sustainability and fashion. What was like the biggest lesson, or what were you learning the most about yourself through this time in your life?
I think, well, starting with Allergenius.
Yeah.
Allergenius was a fantastic case study for me into how to tell a story for an audience with a very specific need or desire, right?
What was your role on Allergenius? I think that will help too.
I was the CMO.
Okay.
So I designed
CMO,
the brand.
Chief Marketing Officer.
Correct.
Yes.
I designed the brand and the website and the user experience of that, the e-commerce functionality, all of our marketing material, collateral, pitch deck,
Nice.
all the copywriting and stuff. I handled all of that. But the challenge of that was communicating with my team, who they have food allergies. I personally don't have any allergies to anything, so they were the ones that resonated with the target audience.
Yeah.
And I had to understand their perspective and their needs, and then figure out how to create a message to then deliver it to other people with food allergies.
Yeah.
Allergenius was a great case study into how to like construct a message with an intent.
Yeah.
And
really
then,
reach your audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that, I carried that to my next venture, because every brand has an audience and an objective and a story to tell.
Yeah.
Everything that I've worked on has just been a matter of like that. This time period up until now has just been a matter of like, how do I tell a story that reaches who it needs to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, I guess, did you always have this passion to be a storyteller, or where did this come from?
Well, like I said, my artistic background started with photo, video.
Yeah.
So I was really into like cinematic photo video. Like I would
Nice.
watch, like GoPro was one of the first brands that I was like so obsessed with, just because their whole like, and Red Bull too. Like
Yeah.
GoPro, Red Bull, how they are able to take these athletes in these extreme sports and like tell a story around be a hero, is like the GoPro slogan, right?
Yeah.
So I started with like wanting to shoot really epic, like cinematic, like skylines, and like when I was travel, I'd have a drone. With my caddy money, I bought a drone and would like fly it
Nice.
around. So I wanted stuff to look like cool and nostalgic, and
And immerse people in
Yeah,
it. Oh,
yeah.
I can see it.
So I think as an artist, like it's about your art. Life imitates art, but when you're an artist, you're taking your perspective and like putting it on canvas for other people to see. So
Yeah.
that's kind of, business is similar in that way.
Yeah.
With the cookie company, like these people with food allergies live in a world where when you go to a business, you don't know whether or not something has food allergies. Some businesses don't have the required like regulatory writing and such that says what food allergies they use in their cooking, and anybody could go anywhere and have a deathly allergic reaction.
Yeah.
So,
Which is very risky. Like, It seems like throughout this process, it's built your empathy and kind of shown where businesses can also build their empathy too, to be able to protect more people.
Exactly.
Yeah. So take me into when you energized an entire campus around a social media dating app and people didn't even know what it was.
Yeah. So the app that she's referring to is called Silly. Silly was an effort to connect people offline. I was brought to this idea. I didn't come up with this idea. This was something that a colleague of mine, his name is Satvik, he came up with this a few years prior to meeting me, and had this idea kind of sitting in his little idea bank, and came to me while we were working together. We were working developing the program for iVenture. And we wanted to create sort of something to use as both a fun little side thing that we could explore and as an example for all the ventures that we were leading as part of our role running iVenture. So he pitched me this idea. And it was really all about bringing people seeking connection offline. So traditional dating apps, Tinder being the biggest modern dating app.
Shout out Tinder.
No shout out Tinder.
Actually,
because
no shout outs!
Tinder's bad because Tinder doesn't want you to go on a date.
Ooh,
right? Tinder wants you to stay on the app for as long as possible seeing ads, because that's how they make their money. So their algorithm is designed to like make you doom swipe, which is the dating equivalent of doom scrolling.
Yeah.
And we had an alternative idea to create something where you would only swipe for a very limited time. So we called it Silly because we wanted to host a swipe session on Friday of syllabus week, when all the students would come back after winter break.
Okay.
And on Friday at 5 p.m., this swipe session would occur and would last about an hour long. And everyone on campus would swipe on each other for this time. And then at the end of the session, they'd be given one match from their pool of likes, and they would go on a date with that match that night at a local business.
That night? Did people do it?
So we tried. We got real close. And context, we were really undecided about how we wanted to approach the branding and this swipe session, like how to like get everyone on campus to mobilize on this concurrent event, right?
Yeah.
So we branded it as super secret social app for 4 or 5 months leading up to it, and would just spread, like, our marketing was all about like, are you in on the secret?
Oh, that's
and
fire.
to hire our early team, we put up these posters with like question marks all over them, and we had a few hundred students just like send us resumes and like want to be a part of the team. We spent 2 weeks like interviewing for the team. We ended up having like 8 or 9 members on our team across marketing and product development. And we ran this one swipe session on syllabus week. It was kind of successful.
Okay.
It was a huge development hurdle. Like, the algorithm that would match everyone with only one other user was a challenge to build. And we had something built, but shortly after we piloted it, my co-founder, who, bless his heart, he had to go back to his home in India because he's an Indian citizen, and Indians can't have dual citizenship. And as the university is required to, they have to file the paperwork for students that are not citizens. If they're an employee of the university, they're required to like do that for those employees. And apparently the department like fumbled his paperwork, and he had to go back to India for temporarily, and that sort of put a death sentence on the company because there's a like 11-hour time difference between here and India, and we had a team of 4 or 5 developers that were depending on Soth to lead them. So that's why Silly didn't work out. But Silly was really fascinating case study because it's like sort of anti-tech, where we had to figure out how to use tech to make people do
the opposite of what the algorithms are typically built for.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So that was an exercise in building a community of people that, one, like, recognize that traditional technology is not always serving them how they think it is.
Yeah.
That we're often like, it's predatory. Like the fact that Tinder is promoting itself as like, giving you this opportunity to date people, it's really intending to do quite the opposite.
The more you know. Okay. The more you know.
Yeah, I could go on and on about how
period.
evil
Part two.
dating is. But yeah, and then we also were thinking about how to make the other half of this experience with the local businesses work, because if we're going to bring people offline, there needs to be some sort of transaction when they're on the date. They can book a table at a restaurant or order the food ahead of time for their date or something like that. And that's where the business model would come in, is where we'd have like partnerships with the restaurants, like, so that the business that we bring them, you know what I mean?
Nice.
So yeah.
That's so cool.
That was, it was really interesting creating this like secret campaign, and just like nobody knew what the secret was. And when Silly came out, everyone was so receptive of it.
And like kind of building off of that and you building communities, I also know there was like an underground like music scene that you all were a part of. Like, tell me more about that.
Yeah. So my best friends and I, we got really lucky in our junior year apartment search.
Yeah.
One of the first places that we looked at on like the local like housing search platform was at 301 South Water Street, which is actually a historic site in Champaign. It's right next to the train terminal. When you go from Chicago down to Champaign, there's a big train station down there.
Yeah.
And we were right next door to that, in this huge apartment unit that we could fit like 200 people on a good night for a party.
Wow.
And we'd have the like best student bands at the time would perform in our space. And we had a lot of townies or grads that would come and be like, oh, I used to party here back in my day, or, like, oh, this and that person used to live here. And
that's so cool. So like basically you just threw a bunch of different concerts and parties with local musicians.
It wasn't all partying, right?
We had concerts?
We did music events, we did art galleries,
Nice.
some workshops for sewing and such.
How do you balance it all? Because I'm just hearing like all these businesses building all this impact with community. Like, how are you making sure you're taking care of yourself too at the same time?
That's a good question. Sometimes it's hard to find that balance. I think it's all about having this like knowing why you're doing all of it, why it all fits together. I mean, life is short, and you have to be very discerning with how you distribute your time to things. And for me, it's been about tying in my purpose with the things that I work on. I'm a big fan of this concept of ikigai.
Tell us more.
Ikigai is it's a Japanese philosophy. There's this a great book about ikigai where these American researchers went to Okinawa in Japan, and they just talked to the people that lived there, because these are the oldest people in the world live in this town. And they're wondering, why are these people so old? Why are they able to just live such long and happy lives? And they derived this concept of ikigai, which is effectively your life's purpose, from these people. And this book is about all the principles of ikigai. You can think about ikigai as kind of like the intersection of profession, vocation, passion, and mission. So like what you are paid to do, what you're really good at technically, what you're most interested and most fulfilled by doing, and like how you can like fit all that together with your mission to like motivate yourself to then find the intersection, which is your ikigai.
Nice.
And for me, that's been storytelling, right? And helping, I think most importantly, helping other people. I'm most fulfilled when I'm able to help somebody else tell their story. Which was, Silly and Allergenius were examples of other people's stories and missions that they wanted to bring to the world, and I helped them do that.
So would you say that's like what you do with Other?
Yes. So Other is right now what I'm currently working on. Other's not really a company that I founded. It sort of just happened. I think it had been manifesting since I went to university, and I met my friends with whom I worked on these ventures. And we like to say other is out of ordinary. Other is the brands that we work with and the people that we work with. Mm-hmm. It's about, helping people tell these important stories to the world. Yeah. That's effectively what we do. We're a creative agency, but we specialize in like brand identity design. So like the logos and brand material that goes into that, but also the voice, tone, messaging, and the applications of your brand, like where people are seeing and experiencing and interacting with it.
Nice.
Throughout working on these other ventures when I was younger, now I'm really honestly trying to take that experience and help other people bring their ventures to the world.
Nice.
So that's what we're doing with Other. It's quite cool.
Y'all check out Other, okay?
Other.000 out of ordinary. So, Jewel, I'm curious to know what your Ikigai is and how you work Ikigai into the show and whatnot.
Yeah. So I definitely, which is part of the inspiration for this show, know it's to bring joy. I always feel full when I am able to make someone else feel happy and full and empowered. Key thing on empowered. But how I do it is through content or engagement, which Everyday ZA is a perfect example of that, where you all are able to see this. I hope you like and subscribe and comment. And also, just having this conversation with you really is an example of me living out my Ikigai. But there's other things I'm even tapping into and exploring myself, whether it's music and really tapping into that part of me, or other ways to tell stories as well. So, and then of course, like, it's very interesting because I know part of that is like what you're paid to do versus like your passion and purpose. And being a video game producer has been very interesting in that part, because it's been nice to work on interactive stories from behind the scenes, because I do feel like that is part of my Ikigai. But I do know I love being on stage more. So that's a roundabout way of saying that is how I create Everyday ZA, because I kind of get to do it all that way. Mm-hmm. Period. So like, what is next for you?
Well, I'm really just trying to take Other to the moon. I want to work with the coolest contemporary brands, the brands that are doing something that's out of ordinary.
Yeah.
One of the brands I'm working with right now is the Chicago Fashion Coalition.
Okay,
They are the foremost nonprofit for fashion in Chicago. And right now we are effectively trying to make Chicago Fashion Week happen at citywide scale in October.
Nice.
And I want to do similar, work with other iconic brands around the city.
Nice.
And put Chicago on the map in the culture, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And you're going to, okay, give it up for Joshua. Okay, period. So like, what advice do you have for other creatives, entrepreneurs, just dreamers, so they can really invest in themselves like you are investing in you?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is to just be curious.
Yeah.
I think today with social media, it's very easy to be distracted all the time. It's easy to settle into a scroll and like the comfort of your feed, but when you put the phone down and you're able to, look around and find wonder in the things that are normally mundane, personally allows me to feel more inspired when I can see the things that I would otherwise not notice and find the beauty in them.
So this kind of sounds like how you make Everyday Yay. Is that true? Like, how do you make Everyday Yay?
I think that curiosity is how I make Everyday Yay, because when you're able to be curious and find wonder in things, then you're present, and then the swirling anxiety or pressures that you've manifested for yourself, they fade away, and you're able to focus on right now and how to be happy right now. So that's how I make Everyday Yay.
Joshua J. James, thank you so much for being on the show. For real, it's just been amazing and inspiring to hear your story. And I just feel more energized to like build community and uplift. Like, thank you. So how can we support you? Let us know.
Well, I think the easiest way to support me is by supporting the brands with which we work. So the Chicago Fashion Coalition is one of them.
Okay.
We host events all around the city quite often. So keep an eye on the Chicago Fashion Coalition stuffs and come to a runway show, come to a pop-up. We do all sorts of things. That's one way.
Nice.
Keep up with me and and that's how you'll hear about where we're at around the city, what we're doing. And I feel supported by supporting other people. So if you need some help with a venture that you're working on, you need to pitch something, or you just want a connection, hit me up.
Period! Yes! Woo! Anyways, thank you folks so much for joining us. And remember, you have the power to make every day